Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, which means it is a moment of hope with Upward Transitions. This morning, I am so excited to have Miss Ginny Carl with Community Cares with us. Good morning, Ginny.
Good morning, Micah. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking the time. I know you guys are super busy,
Yes.
so I'm excited to share about our shared work in eviction prevention and emergency relief and all the things that we collaborate on with everyone. I know you are a woman who is involved in many things. So how did you come to be involved in this particular project of Community Cares?
I can tell you the day. It was June 1. I've been involved in the nonprofit world in Oklahoma City since I moved back here in 2003. My first gig was really with Sunbeam Family Services. I started board service with them in January of that year of 2004. And since then, it's just been a snowball. I spent 15 years working at Oklahoma Medical Research Foundation, one of the larger nonprofits in town. And then I also had a little cut in there with 2 years at Oklahoma Hall of Fame. It used to be the Heritage Association, it's the Hall of Fame. So I've been involved as an employee of nonprofits. I've sat on many, many boards, starting with Sunbeam. Then one of the ones that really was the rallying point for this particular project was my service with Remerge. So I was on the board of Remerge, was president of that board. I just rolled off in December, and I rolled off along with Teresa Rose Crook from Communities Foundation of Oklahoma, Sarah Roberts from Inasmuch, Marnie Taylor, that's from the center. So there are a lot of us that all rolled off.
Rock stars, yeah.
It was such a gift to be involved with an amazing organization, an incredible mission, and then these people in the community that cared so much and could really get things done. So I've always been friends with all of them. We've remained close, but we kind of joke that if one of them call, I will take their call.
Yes.
So on the 31st of May, Sarah Roberts said, "Hey, can you talk tomorrow?" I said, "Sure." So I opened up my Zoom, June 1, and there are 6 eyes staring at me: Teresa Rose Crook, Debbie Hampton of United Way, and Sarah Roberts from Inasmuch. And they asked me if I would help them with this project because the Central Oklahoma Funders Roundtable had been talking about and meeting weekly, what can funders do? What can the philanthropic community do to help people who are suffering from COVID? Now, keep in mind, this is March, April, May. And so some of the things, it still was very much on the evolution side. So as it's evolving, they realize that eviction and housing stability is going to be the next big thing to hit.
Absolutely.
They thought, because you all are in this world day in, day out. So you see it on a regular basis. And then to have this crisis come in and just shine a light and have everything stop at once. It's just crazy when you try to get all those things lined up like they did, but they did. So they wanted to partner and see how to working together, do a public-private partnership that could have an effect. They approached the city of Oklahoma City, as well as the state and the county, and said, what kind of help do you have? And Oklahoma, the Metroplex is very fortunate because the city got CARES money from the federal government. The county got money from and then of course the state. And the only other governmental entity in Oklahoma would be Tulsa County, because you had to be 500,000 or larger. So looking at all that, what could they do? The city has 2 people that we've been working with, and we kind of jokingly say that if we didn't like them so much, this could be really difficult. But they're lovely and wonderful to work with. Aubrey McDermott and Amanda Carpenter have been amazing. The city council approved the resolution unanimously to divert $12.5 million of their CARES funding to help. They call it the Resident Support Program. So that was number one. The state came in and they did a $10 million program for the entire state, but just for eviction prevention. Theirs was a very, very narrow, limited field. And then finally, and if anybody's watched any of these on YouTube or Zoom or whatever they watch them on, the county came around and gave us $1.5 million. So we were the only entity outside of county entities that actually received CARES money from the county. Each of the programs, Micah, is different. Each of them have different requirements.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, although government worked really fast, they still had to put their little mark on it. So each of them have different requirements. Each of them
Yes.
have different end dates. Everything is different on each of them. So we put together a team. And the first call, Sarah gave me the name of someone. She said, I know who needs to be your number 2. Because I said yes. And I hired Katie Fry, who had worked before at the Children's Center, who has great background and just super duper skills. We started in mid-June and put together a team, and we opened up on July 13th with 9 people.
Wow. That's a fast turnaround, dear.
I know. Got space, got donated equipment. People have been so phenomenal, just amazing. Free desk. We had people build us some extra desks. So that was July 13th. And today we just made an offer to, I think, our 21st or 22nd team member.
Wow.
Yes. Because I've worked with several, like I'm on the board of Potts Family Foundation. I administer a charitable trust. So I've been on the side of giving money, and giving money's hard. You do it every day. It's hard work, especially when you have this many qualifications and nuances and requirements. And then you've got looming over your head of like, guess what, people, you could be up for a federal audit. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
so,
the paperwork that goes with all of that. Yes, yes.
And by the way, you have 3 months to do this work in. So as of today, we have close to 11,000 applicants. Wow. And we have people working so diligently to get the help out to the people in need. We have a weekly call it started with Sarah, Debbie, and Teresa. Perry Ann, your executive director, has been involved from the very beginning with different people from the city, state, county, from different agencies in town, as well as from philanthropists. Because we do have some, the Inasmuch Foundation, as well as Flourish OKC, have been very generous in their support with some private dollars. So this really is, Oklahoma City, of course, I think the one we all look at is the bombing and how everyone came together to lift each other up. Then you look at the MAPS programs and how you have these public-private partnerships going on, and we work so well collaboratively. And I just feel like CCP, Community Cares Partners, is another example in that long line. We stand on a lot of shoulders.
Yep.
And it's
so tell us
specifically
about the scope of the work that you're doing. So eviction is a part of that, but tell us about the scope of the work that you're doing.
Well, it depends upon the fund.
Yes, we know. Yes.
So if you're any 77 counties, we've helped people down in about 20 counties, can get rent assistance if they have an eviction summons, a notice to quit, or now also a CDC moratorium declaration. So we can help. The cool thing about the state money is we can pay forward as well as back rent. So we've helped several people with paying their rent through the end of the year. Mm-hmm. Such a win-win for landlord and tenant. Just to give people that
stability is huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they can focus on other things like getting a job or
getting healthy or whatever it is.
Teaching their kids who are at home, all these things. So that's the state. County is rent and mortgage assistance, utilities, and connectivity. Mm-hmm. And I have to give kudos to both the county and the city, recognizing that connectivity nowadays, it is an essential service. Especially, when you're working from home and you're teaching kids from home, you've got to have phone, you've got to have internet.
I have 5 people, 4 or 5 devices right now, right? On the internet. Yeah.
So it's a big deal. I think I could do without electricity some days hotspot on my phone. But yeah, it's just the world in which we live. So they did that. Mm-hmm. Well, then the city and the county, Micah, we can only help people with county money if they live outside of the city limits of Oklahoma City.
Okay.
So you carve that out, and that's who we can help the other people. With the county, so if someone comes to the courthouse, for example, and they're getting ready to get evicted, we can help them if they live in Oklahoma County, like Edmond. We can help them with state money and county money.
Okay.
So we can use the city. What we like to do is use the state money to pay forward and use the county money to pay back, because they have their limits. You can get $3,600 from the state, $8,000 from the county. Then if you're an Oklahoma City resident, we can help you with state money and city money, no county.
Right. Yeah.
And that's $10,000 a person.
Yeah.
Plus retraining. So with city money, same things, mortgage, rent. We can help you with rehousing, which is huge. Mm-hmm. All utilities, connectivity. We can also help you with transportation. We
Right.
can help you with retraining, daycare.
Yeah.
Just as long as it's COVID related, it's caused by COVID. So that's a big qualification is after March 1, you have either lost your job or otherwise you have a reduction in income. And then reasonable expenses. We're not going to be able to buy you a brand new car, but
Yeah.
if you have a car and need help with a car payment, we can do that.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
example.
Right. So I know that we have felt it at Upward Transitions. The need in our community is great. There was a study that said like 500,000 Oklahomans are going to be at risk for eviction here in the next few months. We feel it every week that the need for intervention for people at risk for eviction is huge. So how do people access these resources?
They have 3 ways. One of them is probably not the preferred way. That would be we see you at court because it's your court date for an eviction.
Right.
So that's the highest priority, but that's also the last stop on the train. We'd love to help people further upstream. So they can apply online at okccp.org, or they can call 211. It's the same application. You can help anybody fill it out. And that's just an initial application that confirms you're a resident, that it's COVID related. And then we give you an intake form also online, and that gets some more of the details. Oh, I'm behind on my electricity and I need a carpet, whatever it is. I have a family of 4 and just whatever your needs are. Then a case manager really works through you with that. So we have program assistants, a program coordinator, case managers. We have an accounting team. So then they fill out a form and the case manager fills out a payment request. It goes to accounting. They enter it in their system, and then it goes to Communities. So I should have stopped and said, we are a program of Communities Foundation of Oklahoma. There was no need to set up a whole new nonprofit for a 4.5-month stint.
Right.
So we are a program of them. They are the fiscal agent. They hold the funds. They're the steward of the funds. And then they write the checks, and we disperse them out. So that's how you access it, as well as just a quick rundown of how the process works. So if your priority is really high, like you've got an eviction notice, you're going to bounce to the head of the food chain, so to speak. And your application is going to be dealt with first and foremost. Then notice to quit. Then a cutoff notice. And so we just kind of go down. So for example, retraining, as we're in conversation with you, we can see, would retraining be helpful? And then we can start working on that aspect. But let's keep you in your home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make sure your electricity and your water and things like that are on. Make sure you have access. So we really do try to help with the needs, kind of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes. Yes.
Approach.
Very much
That's how
so.
we do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned that this is a brief, temporary program, and I think I think that's what differentiates it from programs like Upward Transitions that are the long-standing nonprofits in the area. And you mentioned earlier, you kind of compared it to the response of the bombing and the recession and some of the other things that have happened in our community. And so how would you differentiate it? Would you agree that that's the kind of the difference is like there's the immediate response, there's the front line, firefighters, and then there are the people that come in the second phase, and there are the people, yeah.
No, I think that's a really good description. We also hear a lot of analogies to disasters.
Yeah.
Tornadoes and things like that. So, you swoop in and you do the triage. And then you leave and let people like Upward Transitions take care of the systemic stuff. So a couple of points on that, and I'm really, really glad you brought that up, is I think one of the advantages of setting up community cares partners instead of going through the different agencies, it allows you all to do the work you already do amazingly well. And we also work in tandem. Like today, we're going to be talking about having you all elongating that money through the ESG grants so that use this money first, because this money runs out. Like we only have until December 30th.
Right.
So we had to start and stop in less than 6 months.
Yes.
And your systems are great for what you're doing. We have 3 different systems we have to do: city, state, and county. And they're also different. So I feel like the funders were also thinking, how do we not add extra burden to the upper transitions of the world?
Mm-hmm.
Because they still were able to give you all some grants. But
Mm-hmm.
it really is, we are MASH. We are the MASH unit for all of this.
Yeah.
But you still have your hospitals. So
Yeah.
you don't put your hospitals on the front line. They've got the emergency rooms, but sometimes you need a pre appetizer. And that's really what we are.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I'm worried about is that because it's not, unfortunately, it's a little hidden, unfortunately. People see the catastrophe of a tornado, or they see the fallout of a hurricane, or that kind of thing. Unless you've had somebody that has been directly impacted from COVID, either health-wise or economically, this is almost a hidden natural disaster.
It's like having high cholesterol.
Yeah,
which I do.
And so,
I get it.
and so, I don't think people realize the weight and the impact on our community, both in the health and wellness of what's happening and the economic impact. And so they don't realize that, yes, we need a triage unit like Community Cares Partner on the front line to help us, because you're doing what you're doing and we're doing what we're doing, and there's still need.
I was just going to say, we also aren't getting, COVID's shining a light on a lot of systemic problems. For example, before this, Oklahoma City was 20th in evictions. Tulsa was 11th in the nation. So we had a real problem. We have supposedly affordable housing. Don't get me started on that one. So here you
and me both, sister.
Yeah, please. But so you have all these things, and they're going, wait, you got a moratorium. Well, guess what happens? Moratorium. Rent is still being owed. So you're going to have January 1. Whoever thinks that January 1 is a day of lollipops and unicorns and voila, life got better. You've got all these people who are going to have evictions filed against them. You don't have any moratoriums left. You have all this rent that's due and owing. There is a large landlord in town, and they refuse to take any federal dollars. Now, I bet if they drive on roads, I bet their kids go to school. So don't get me started. But they're refusing. But they can't evict people. So this is really like creating a debtor's prison without bars.
Yeah. You're just pushing the ball down the road. I mean, like,
so doing that. And it's going to be worse and worse. And it's in the middle of winter when all this is going to happen.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things that has sparked from all this is, like when I told you about our Friday group, and we've commented many times, can we believe that all these people are having these, and we have some pretty raw discussions about the problems and what needs to happen. Last week, there was a legislative interim study on eviction that I spoke at, along with a dozen other people. And their legislatures are like, well, all the landlords I know, they would never do that. I'm like, I'm so glad you know those landlords. And I'm not saying that 80%, 90% landlords aren't wonderful. They also have a business to run. I mean, we have some rent houses. If those rent houses don't make income, I can't pay my mortgage. So there's that domino effect. But also, there are some bad landlords, and our laws so favor landlords. So we really need to make some systemic changes. So I am grateful, because I do not believe in wasting a good pandemic. And I'm also a big believer in a silver lining. The conversations that we're having and this realization going, you're right, there's a problem. And we're not going to fix it by December 30th, but we can at least start the discussion and start thinking about possible solutions. And it's going to take every single person to come in together, and we're going to listen. It's a very complex situation. There's not one answer. So that gives me hope, but we got to be in this for the long haul.
Exactly.
I mean, exactly. Is one of the best examples of how to be in it for the long haul. But wouldn't you all also like to be able to go upstream a little bit and think about some ways that we don't get ourselves in these messes?
Yes. Well, and that's been, kind of the conversations that we've been having around our organization. Is this has just shown so many places where the system breaks down. Yep. And, you know, we talk around our office. I mean, even amongst our staff, you know, where, you know, we have systems of support and where we don't. And how if Upward Transitions wasn't there for us as a staff, as an employer, how we would not function. And so how we can't imagine what it's like for our clients to navigate the systems that they're navigating. And so, you know, I always say that the case managers at Upward Transitions are the people that I want to talk to when I'm anxious, just because you know, they get it. Yeah. They understand, and they've been doing this work for a really long time. And so to have somebody like CCP that's on the front line, you know, pulling out people maybe just a little more upstream, and then we're catching a few more, you know, somebody suggested to me the other day, we're like, maybe we should do this kind of work. I mean, like, we all have to be catching people in the stream right now. Like, we can't stop doing the work that we're doing right now, because there are exponentially more people that need this kind of assistance during the pandemic. And so, you know, there'll be time for reflection and evaluation at some point. But you know, we all have to, you know, on the sake of all Oklahomans, and particularly those who live in the metro area right now, you know, for the sake of, you know, just our community.
For the sake of humanity. We can do better. We can do better. We got to do better. Yeah. So I want to tell you a quick happy story.
Yes, please.
One of our case managers helped a client. We'd helped him first avoid eviction, got their rent paid, helped him pay a couple of utility bills. He had his own business. He'd been at many businesses, had a very successful career, started his business in October. So then COVID hits and all kind of falls to hell in the handbasket. And the case manager, he'd asked for retraining, but he was in the county, so there were no funds available for retraining. She said, well, if you need any help, let me know. So she passed along his resume to me. We interviewed him this morning, and we hired him. So he's gone from being a client to now he'll be a case manager.
Wonderful.
Isn't that great?
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So it's worth it. It's worth it.
I know. You know, the stories that during this crisis that just get me are, you know, we have helped so many pregnant women that are during this crisis have found their hours reduced or whatever, or don't feel safe, you know, in whatever situation, and all of a sudden they are at the brink of being evicted while they're about to give birth.
Yep, we've had some of those.
And so, you know, for gracious sake, let's keep the family or the about to be family in their house. And so, you know, those are the stories where I'm just like, yes, humanity, for the sake of humanity, let's keep this mom and her new baby or this family in a house so that they can at least, you know, have a stable environment to begin this new phase. It's stressful enough.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it is. Well, just like kids, if you get evicted and you move, you're moving schools, you're moving your peer and your friend group. It's such a strong sense of emotional and stability and support. It's the ramifications, as someone that's never gone through that, but you talk to people and you realize, oh my gosh, this is, we need to have a real sit down with this.
Yeah.
So y'all are doing amazing work. I love working with you all. It's really been a pleasure. And we learned so much from Upward Transitions and our other partners like Homeless Alliance and Catholic Charities and NSO. Everybody has been so gracious and so grace-filled. And that's the only way we're going to get through it. So we're very, very appreciative.
Well, this is a time of shared wisdom. Like there's no reason to hold wisdom back in this time. So. Well, Ginny, I'm so thankful that you spent some time with us this morning and get back to helping people. I know that you guys are very busy over there, and thanks for sharing a little bit about this with everyone. You can learn more about CCP Tell us again where they can do that. They can always go to 211 if they need resources, but what's the website again, Jenny?
It's okccp.org.
Very good. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day and find a little hope in something you do. Bye, everybody.